The question for this podcast is why many search committees? Well, let me just restate it. It's more of a statement. Why many search committees are ineffective. Or we could put it in the form of a question. Why are many search committees ineffective? Whichever way you want to look at it, you get the point. And I also had a little word in parentheses here. Most. Are most search committees ineffective? I don't know that for sure. But I can tell you, I come across a lot of search committees that are not effective. We're going to be talking about this in this quick 10-minute podcast, and we're going to be answering that questions. As always, thank you, Belay. Thank you for being the inaugural sponsor of the Church Answers podcast. Thank you for providing incredible workers for Church Answers, as you have since our inception to today. Thank you for providing executive assistants and bookkeepers. Thank you for helping leaders focus on those things they need to focus on. And thank you for this incredible book you are offering our audience free, this ebook called Delegate to Elevate. It is a book that talks about leaders and how they spend their time and what they should be doing. The book is something that Belay knows a lot about. It won't take you long to read. So download that. You can download it in the show notes, or you can go to belaysolutions.com/Tom Rainer, Tom, Thom, Rainer, and you can get the book there as well. Let's go to this question. Why are most search committees ineffective? Or is it just why are many ineffective? There are a lot of them that are ineffective. Now, we want to be clear. Not every church finds a pastor or staff member through a search committee. It depends upon the polity of the church. Some pastors are appointed. Some have elders that hire somebody. There's multitudes of ways. When we talk about search committees, we're talking about what a large number of churches do. But I think many of the principles will apply possibly to many churches that are looking for a pastor or some other staff person. So I will use the phrase search committees. I will recognize that that is not the nomenclature or the process for all churches, but I hope that there are some principles here that will help you. So why are many search committees ineffective, or maybe why are most search committees ineffective? One is the process has its flaws. Again, when we say the process, we act like there's some type of Robert's Rules of Orders for search committees that you can go to and you know exactly the process. There's not. But they tend to follow a pattern. And the pattern is this. We don't have a pastor. What do? Oh, we need to collect resumes. Where do we get them? Oh, let's get them from recommendations in the church. Let's go, if we're a part of a denomination, to our denomination or seminaries. Oh, let's begin to ask people that are outside the church and other pastors, and they start collecting resumes. That collection process can usually take a long, long time. We'll get into the time issue in just a moment. But the process is flawed because basically, instead of saying this is what we want, this is where God is leading us, it's basically, if you'll pardon my southern slang here, it's a y'all come type of perspective. Anybody and everybody will put in the pile to consider. And because the pile, if you will, the digital or paper resumes is so thick, that brings us to the second problem. It's not just the process, it is the time. Most search committee members have different type of responsibilities outside the search committee. In fact, I don't know one that does not. They have jobs. They have responsibilities at home. They have things in the community that they help with. And so it's not like they can give this full-time or even significant part-time attention. Most search committees meet weekly. And that's 7-day gap between meetings. And much of the time, they're spent gathering resumes instead of seeking the type of person they think is the right call, given fit for the church. And so they're spending a lot of time just gathering resumes. Then, going back to the process and to time, they take sometimes months to go through every single resume. It may be divided up between search committee members, or they may look at them one by one. But they feel that it is incumbent upon them, if anybody sent a resume, that they have to give it a thorough vetting. Well, quite frankly, 5 seconds of viewing some of these resumes would indicate that that particular person probably is not the best fit, and they should know that right away. So the process takes a lot of time. I've given stories about it's taken so long time that the person who was the leading candidate was notified that they were the leading candidate, but it took so long that person had already taken another church. That is a true story, and it's happened more than one time. And then there's the structure. Who do we put on these search committees? Usually we try to just have representation to make the whole church happy. We're going to have someone older, someone younger, someone from a deacon body, someone from an elder body, someone from the women's ministry, someone from the men's ministry. You get the picture. And instead of just asking the question, who will represent the whole church as well, we try to make the search committee some type of representative government and try to make everybody happy. Well, you start structuring instead of competency by what area of the church you represent, you already begin to have an inherent flaw in the process. And then in addition to all of this, there's a lack of knowledge of how to find a pastor. People don't do search committees that often. I mean, even a church that has high pastoral turnovers every 2 or 3 years. And so even if someone has done it before, things have changed in 2 or 3 years. And many people who are serving on a search committee have never served on a search committee. So why are most search committees ineffective? Process is flawed. The time takes too long. The structure is often not the best. And there is a lack of knowledge about how to match a pastor with the church. Now, having said all of that, what would I do if I were advising a church in this process? I have a bias, I admit it, and some would disagree with me, but I would find a search firm, someone that does this, that understands how to match. Many times we talk about when we find a search firm that what we're doing is we're giving up our sense of God working through the church. That's not the case. Search firms don't say, here is your pastor. Search firms say, let us find out what you're looking for. Let us find out candidates who might match, and let us present you 4 or 5. And if you don't like those 4 or 5, we'll present you 3 or 4 more. They help the process. They don't choose your pastor for you. And then we have some objections that say, oh, but if we get a search firm, it's going to cost us some money. Sure it is. That's how search firms make their living. But you know what? The most expensive type of pastor or staff person that you bring on is the one that doesn't work out. And though search firms are fallible and they will make mistakes, they usually do a lot better than just a search committee. So I have my bias. At the very least, if you don't bring a search firm in, I would say get the type of people who understand. Get someone who leads a personnel function at an organization, for example, or someone who is in the talent acquisition area. Get someone that knows how to find people, and make a commitment that you're going to move at a pace that makes sense. Search committees used to take 6 to 12 months to find a pastor, and more times than not, they're taking well over a year, even 2 years more to find a pastor. And by that time, the church is discouraged, and sometimes, many times, the church is beginning to decline more. And so give the opportunity for this process to go along expeditiously. And that would mean that you are not scouring every resume and giving it your full attention, but only pulling a few of those that you might think might be a match for your church. We're going to see this question come up again and again. We're having a greater gap between the time a pastor leaves a church and the next pastor comes on. Some of it is just pure supply and demand. There are fewer pastors who are willing to serve or are called to serve, is another way I should say that, than there are positions available. That situation will increase. There's also fewer churches that can afford a full-time compensated pastor. Recognize that if you need to call a pastor who is not full-time compensated, don't expect that pastor to bring a spouse along to make up the difference. Recognize that that pastor will be bivocational at your church. Well, there's a lot that we could say to answer this question. Why are most search committees ineffective? I hope this gives you a little bit of the idea, and even more than that, I hope that it gives you some ideas of how to make the process effective. Thank you, as always, Belay. And just remember, if you need a bookkeeper, if you need an executive assistant, if you need someone to take care of those things that cause you to be drained of energy, bring Belay. Let them take care of everything for you. It's just so easy when Belay begins to handle it. And make certain that you get that ebook that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. That ebook is called Delegate to Elevate. Go to belaysolutions.com/Tom Rainer, ThomRainer, or you can click on in the show notes. As always, thank you for being a part of the Church Answers podcast. See you in the next episode. Hey, folks, this is a PS to our podcast. We got some exciting stuff that we want to offer you absolutely for free. Sam, when you think about predictive factors in a church's growth, if you take out demographics, what are some things that come to mind? Just two. I mean, don't give me a list of 10. Just two or three things that come to mind on predictive growth of a church.
Well, evangelism and whether the church is doing it or not.
Bingo.
And then I will add, is it an ongoing evangelism emphasis?
Double bingo. Well. And maybe something about leadership and their commitment to that. So all of the above.
Evangelistic churches have evangelistic pastors. Is the staff, is the lead pastor doing the work themselves?
We have a free download for you, and it's actually a sheet that you can self-score. You answer 20 questions, anywhere from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and we come back and we predict what your growth rate is going to be for the next year in worship attendance. It's not a perfect tool, but it's a good tool. There's a link to that for the attendance predictor. Look in the show notes. You'll absolutely love it. That's cool. We'll see you soon.